Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously in the Black and White arc, Black was tasked by Professor Juniper to help research the mythical Pokemon Victini. Black arrived just in time to actually save Victini from Team Plasma, involved yet again in something preaching liberation and yet forcefully doing so. Later, on his way to Nimbasa City, Black encounters another Team Plasma grunt who was trying to spy on a bit of construction that Grimsley of the Elite Four of the Unova region managed to capture. This chance encounter gave Black the opportunity to battle him, but Grimsley said that Black would have to wager something in return. And we saw one of the first major flaws of Black's, straightforwardness, if I'm being honest. Unable to think of Grimsley's little challenge in any other way. Wanting to battle, but not wanting to give up his badges, which would be the most valuable thing he had. He couldn't just part with something meaningless. And so his brain overloaded and Grimsley ended up leaving. We also see that another one of the 7 sages, Ryoku, is looking for a Pokemon called Volcarona for some reason. But Black and White arrive in Nimbasa City, and White helps to organize, and let's be honest, is mostly in charge of setting up the Pokemon musical. And when a crisis occurs with something that they were supposed to hand out to the guests, Black tries to help out but is dragged away by Elisa for a gym battle, with Elisa wanting White to handle this on her own, without Black constantly solving every little thing that she does. And with a little aid from Skyla, White's able to get the merchandise to the people in the nick of time. Black engages in a very unorthodox battle against Elisa, and afterwards encounters the legendary Pokemon Thunderous, who Elisa had also encountered when she was young. Black seems to just keep running into these legendary Pokemon, whether he's looking for them or not. But all is not as well as it would seem. As White leaves the Pokemon musical exhausted, she's unwittingly lured onto a Ferris wheel by N. What is he after? Join me as I find out, won't you? Right, who's that Pokemon? Servine, the evolved form of Snivy. It's adventure number 25, Gigi's Choice. So N is after Gigi? Maybe he took offense to the Pokemon musical. We pick up with Elisa inside of some control room, I guess trying to understand why the roller coaster that Black was on malfunctioned. She says to her Emolga, I can't believe it. So the malfunction of the roller coaster was due to someone's mischief? Oh, what a pain. Oh, someday I hope to separate the gym from the amusement park. Oh, okay. I thought she liked that. Unbeknownst to her, the Zoroa, in the guise of a human boy, is observing her, chuckling. But Elisa manages to overhear this and questions who's there. But as she exits the control room, no one's there. The Zoroa takes off, transforming back to its Pokemon form, observing the Ferris wheel where N and White are riding. Okay, so I didn't even dawn on me. Black and White were right next to each other. Crap. Oh, right. Was that why Thunderous was there? Because of N? Aboard the Ferris wheel car, White is cowering with Gigi in one corner, while N sits opposite of her, messing around with one of his puzzles, not really looking at her, almost looking through her. He questions, did you see that thunderstorm? It's because Singlehorn just passed by. The Pokemon are angry at the people. Angry at the people. Oh, did they come after her because of the grunt that they had captured? White looks out the window thinking, we're up so high. There's no way to escape. People are looking up at us though. What if I call out for help? Then she realizes it's Team Plasma. Yeah, I think it's because he has the Maractus from before. And they're looking up to the Ferris wheel. Did they complain to N and he decided to give a little bit of retribution? And I didn't know that pendant he had was a communication device. Okay. Yeah, it starts to ring and answers saying, it's me. The person on the line questions, oh, hello, En, are you all right? Are you hurt? En says, I'm fine. She hasn't hurt me one bit. Go ahead and make your escape. That's unfortunate because she doesn't really fight or battle or anything. As En hangs up, he tells White, you turned in one of our team members to the police, remember? He was down there. They can make a safe getaway now that I've got you trapped up here. White questions, so you're a member of Team Plasma? En tells her, I'm not just a member. I am Team Plasma's king. And that's one way of looking at it. White questions, king? And tells her, saving Pokemon and leading those who have banded together to fight for Pokemon rights. That's my job. The job of the king of Team Plasma. That's the responsibility that Getsus conferred upon me. White says, Getsus, thinking back to the man she saw all that time ago during the first interaction with Team Plasma, and tells her, I like Ferris wheels. The slow circular motion, the elegant mechanical dynamics resulting from the engineering application of beautiful mathematical formulas. Do you follow my meaning? White tells them, not really. I'm not talking about what you just said. I don't understand what you mean by saving Pokemon, or why you've trapped me up here with you for that matter. And says, really? Well, I don't understand you either, and I've been keeping a close watch on you precisely because I seek to understand you. White questions, what? And questions her in turn, saying, you're the one who dreamed up the Pokemon musical, aren't you? I don't understand that. Explain it to me. Hey, you were all dressed up and dancing. You looked happy, she says, reaching out for Gigi, as White calls out to Gigi, saying, don't touch her. Servine slaps her hand away and starts, well, kind of creepily groping at Gigi's bow, saying, the Pokemon musical. Now that is a paradox. Why do people get so excited about shows like that? How can they bear to force Pokemon to imitate people? How can they exploit Pokemon? Explain this paradox to me. Why are you involved in show business anyway? White says, fine, I'll explain. Maybe then you'll get it. It all started when I was quite young. I was watching a musical. This musical was performed by humans only. But in the middle of the show, a Pokemon climbed up on the stage. I don't know if it belonged to a member of the audience or the cast or crew, but that Pokemon started to sing and dance along all the human performers. I'm sure it was unplanned, but the audience loved watching that Pokemon. It was so cute, it was trying so hard to get it right. Neither the performers nor the producers stopped the show. They just kept going and let the Pokemon follow along. That's when I realized that Pokemon have desires to express themselves too. Pokemon are artistic and creative, just like us. That is actually an amazingly beautiful reason. You would think that and hearing that might come to some kind of understanding, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he's too lost in his own sauce to actually even believe what she's saying. White says, that Pokemon had a contented expression on its face as it danced on the stage, and it looked so satisfied after it exited. That's how it all started for me. I wanted other Pokemon to experience that creative fulfillment, and I wanted other people to enjoy watching Pokemon perform. That was the beginning of my dream. Anne listens quietly. White then says, people perform because they enjoy it, and you feel sorry for Pokemon forced to perform against their will. That's how you see it, isn't it? That's what you're criticizing me for. But you've got it all wrong. Some Pokemon love to be on stage and in the spotlight. Am I wrong? But Anne says, no. You're right, which takes White a little off guard. And she says, huh? And then pets Gigi, saying, people are different. There are those who can run fast and those who are good at drawing. It's the same with Pokemon. There are Pokemon who like to sing, Pokemon who like to dance, Pokemon who love to act on TV. I'm sure those Pokemon exist. But that's only a part of the Pokemon's personality. What if you're suppressing any instinct that every Pokemon has? By placing too much weight on their theatrical talent. Pokemon fight battles, that's what they do. By fighting, Pokemon grow stronger and eventually evolve. Doesn't it violate the very essence of a Pokemon to choose and control its activities for your convenience? Don't you want to experience Pokemon battles as badly as you want to sing and dance? That Tepig friend of yours, how did you feel when it evolved into a Pignite and grew stronger? Okay, so from his perspective, it isn't so much that it's bad that what Gigi's doing. It's just that, is that all you want to do? He feels that Gigi's ending up trapped in a box, and she should be free to have a multitude of options. But is she being pushed in one direction just because she's good at it and enjoys it? And that's not wrong, but I don't know. It feels manipulative to try to push that and just this up and decide that you know what's best for someone who you barely know. And just because you can hear an animal's voice doesn't mean that you know their life, Unless, I don't know, maybe he could see the entire past of a Pokemon through contact. I'm not sure how far his powers go. And says, don't you want to experience the joy of winning a battle and using your special moves? Oof. Servine then binds Gigi. White calls out, stop it. Gigi hasn't a clue as to how to fight a Pokemon battle. But then tells her coldly, it's not that she doesn't know how. It's that you won't let her. White says, hey, you talk about saving and liberating Pokemon, so isn't harming a Pokemon who has no desire to fight against Team Plasma's philosophy? And questions, no desire to fight? Do you seriously believe that? White is taken aback. Oh man, I love this panel with N and nothing but his eyes. They really emphasize N's eyes. Like that, I don't think any other media that I've seen N in has emphasized that cold stare from him. And they do have these moments where he has this dismissive look on his face, but a lot of stuff that I see usually obscures his eyes with his hat or his hair. His eyes are mostly overshadowed. It's more about his presence than anything else. But this just emphasizes that almost dead look in his eyes. There is a weird charm that N has, but N tells her, if that's what you think, you aren't hearing your Pokemon's voices, and that's the worst crime of all. You're intentionally covering your ears to block them out. Creating a Pokemon musical isn't a crime. Not listening to the voices of your Pokemon, that's a crime. As Gigi struggles being choked out by Servine, Gigi gets mad and fires off an Ember attack against Servine. Servine releases her, and Gigi hits the ground. Actually, happy that she could fight back. And White, everything she knew just shattered in an instant, and tells Gigi, that was a wonderfully executed Ember move. You dealt a great deal of damage to my Servine with your first move ever. You're so powerful. I bet you could defeat the Pokemon League champion. I see a bright future ahead, he says, looking up to the sky. Gigi, overjoyed, looks towards White, who everything has shifted because it's now this question of, have I really been doing something wrong? But it's one of those things it's never really come up. And it's not so much that she's never cared about it. If Gigi had probably had an instance of maybe wanting to battle, maybe White kind of would indulge, but then again, with how she was so against Tepig evolving, but thoughts race through White's head. Gigi, no, it looks happy. It looks fulfilled. No, why? Why do you have that look on your face? You don't really want to fight Pokemon battles, do you? Can't stay here. A crime, a crime, a crime. I have to get out of here. Have to get out of here. And as the door to she swings open the door to the Ferris wheel cart, she calls out, we're going to jump, Gigi. It's safe. We're not too high up now. Come on, I'll catch you. Come to me. Gigi. But Gigi moves towards N, and in shock, White falls from the Ferris wheel. And as she falls, N, holding Gigi, comes to the door, saying, I wonder how many Pokemon there are in this world. I listen to all their voices. That's why it is I who will defeat the Pokemon League champion. But why? Why would you want that? Why? I don't understand. How does that factor into everything else, I wonder? Oh, geez. Is she okay? Holy crap. And says, and once I am the undisputed victor, I will free all the Pokemon from their trainer. Then I will be vindicated. That voice I heard, the future I saw. Voice you heard? Whose voice did you hear? Oddly enough, I guess he's just not. He's like, I'm not heartless. He motions to Servine, and Servine leaps from the Ferris wheel and heads over to a very in shock White. And is it just because she's injured? Or is it just because of the shock of, feeling that maybe she was doing something wrong? White thinks to herself, Gigi, Pokemon League champion, battle, defeat. Oh, Alder. And what is it, a Buffalant? Yeah, Buffalant. There we go. I had to think of the name. The freaking buffalo with the afro. Can it actually learn surf? I'm curious now. It can learn surf. Okay. Shoot, go off with your bad self, Pokemon Special. Alder, the Pokemon Unova Pokemon League champion, is making his way across the water on his Buffalon. To where? I don't know. Is he coming where we're currently at in Nimbasa? Or is it something else? What? Okay, first of all, once again, Galvantula, you leveling up like a mofo. 49? Like, it's just 5 levels away from where Braviary is. Like, my god. Why are you leveling up so much? Like, man. Is there something I don't know about? I don't know. Are Pokemon that are released and caught by someone else able to level up that fast? Like, god dang. But, so White now has the Servine. Huh. Oh, it's a female too. Interesting. Is this Servine the Snivy that Chirin Snivy wave 2 previously? I mean, I think it would have to. We saw the Zoroa too. Huh. I wonder what the Snivy story, Servine story is. And why did N have Servine go to White? Just to make sure she was okay? I mean, I know that deep down N isn't a bad person, but, and I hope it wasn't as high. She said it wasn't too high up, but I mean, if she fell on her head, yeah, I have so many questions. All right, next chapter. The Who's That Pokemon Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee were so cool. They wanted to do it again, but I gotta say, these two, nah, man, they just don't do it for me like Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. It's throw and sock. Just A for effort. If you like the two Pokemon, good on you. They do nothing for me. But it's adventure number 26, Unraveling Mystery. Black is racing around Nimbasa, calling out, "Boss! Boss!" Now where has she disappeared to this time? As Braviary and Pig Knight arrive on the scene, he asks them, "Have you found her?" They shake their head. He then calls out again, "Where are you, boss?" Oh, we got Best Boy Galvantula, and I really turned around on Galvantula. The name was the first part that kind of turned me around, but he's been such a sweet guy. But Galvantula sees a figure moving and tugs at Black's pant leg. Black asks, "Have you found her, Tula?" But he's shocked as he sees, Marshall of the Elite Four? He's part of the Elite Four, yeah. Man, Black, you are just running into the Elite Four left, right, and center. I feel like this is to kind of make up for the fact that the Sinnoh Elite Four barely got involved back during the Platinum arc. Because, I mean, they were there, they did some research, they met Diamond and Pearl, but, I mean, aside from that, and shoot, it feels that each version of the Elite Four is a little bit more underplayed. And you had the Kanto Elite Four, who were such a big part of a story. The Johto Elite Four, which essentially came together. They were a decent enough part of that story, like pretty decent. But the Hoenn Elite Four, they got to actually play a part in the storyline. The assembling of that Elite Four felt like a big event. We didn't get to see too much out of them, but we had a pretty decent moment with them. But man, the Sinnoh Elite Four, man, they, outside of the few chapters they were even in, Flint got pretty dang involved. There was some bias on how much Flint got involved. But everyone else, Aaron, Bertha, Lucian, man, they just, they did not get enough attention. Which is saying something too, because Caitlyn got, some pretty good moments there, and now she's part of the Unova Elite Four. I'm interested to actually get some maybe backstory about how she ended up a part of the Unova Elite Four. Like, how did that happen? When did it happen? Why did it happen? Because she couldn't battle before because of her abilities, but now that she's, I guess, got under control, now she's a strong member and all that. So I have a lot of questions about that situation. But at the very least, we're a few years removed from Diamond Pearl and Platinum's whole storyline. Is it 5? 3? Who knows? But regardless, Marshall shows up carrying White, an unconscious White, with the Servine next to him. Black calls out, hey you, why is my boss slung over your shoulder? And as his Pokemon get ready to go on the attack, Marshall responds in kind, throwing out Throw and Sock. He has Throw, well, use Storm Throw against Pignite, and he has Sock, use Retaliate against Braviary. And Galvantula is kind of at a loss of what to do. Black calls out to his Pokemon. Marshall tells Black, don't worry, I didn't attack them very hard. I only wish to teach you a lesson. Your manners are appalling. I cannot abide this courteousness. Black then thinks to himself, I've seen this guy somewhere before, but where? Could he be? No, it can't be. He then says, are you Marshall of the Elite Four? What would the Elite Four want with my boss? Marshall asks, do you know this girl? Black says, yeah. Marshall tells him, you appear to be in need of some clarification. Allow me to explain. He's a lot more eloquent than I thought he was. Like, I'm gonna be real. The look he has says brute, but the way he speaks says, man, disciplined as a mofo. Okay, I completely misread his character. I'm gonna tell you that much. Allow me to explain. I found her beneath the Ferris wheel. Black questions, the Ferris wheel? Marshall says, she doesn't appear to be injured, but she has yet to regain consciousness. Since you're her friend, I'll leave her in your care. I suggest you take her to a hospital. I'd do it myself, but I have to meet somebody. I'm in rather a hurry. He then just hands White over to Black, and Black gives a bow saying, I'm sorry, I guess I should have asked questions first before attacking you. Black then notices the Servine hanging around, and he calls out to Marshall, what's with this Pokemon? Marshall says, it was by her side when I found her. Doesn't it belong there? Black gives a questioning glance to the Servine, who just eyes him back. The Black says, anyway, I better get her to a doctor. Oh, he's meeting with Alder. Okay. Oh. As Marshall heads down by the water next to the amusement park, he then hears splashing and turns to the arriving Alder and gives a bow saying, I've been awaiting you. Master, dang, okay. Apprentice to the champion. And I have been looking forward to seeing you, Marshall, he says, dismounting his Bouffalant and wading through the water. He greets Marshall with a smile. Meanwhile, over at the hospital, White is laid up in a hospital bed being looked over by Black. She mutters to herself, Gigi, champion, powerful, defeat. Black then says, she's mumbling those words again. Gigi's gone, isn't she? He says to Pignite, and Pignite gives a nod. Black then says, also, the boss's eyes are swollen from crying. What happened to you, boss? Servine is waiting on the other side of a curtain card to read what that Servine is thinking. Later on, White awakens, calling out to Black. Black, who also is woken up by Pignite, says, but boss, you've come too. But then White is in shock as she sees the Servine and starts to scream. She says, no. Black says, what's wrong, boss? Nurse, doctor. Later, when a doctor examines her, they say her brain scan doesn't reveal any injury. She only received some light bruises and scratches, but she does appear to have suffered quite a shock. I'd like to keep her here for observation another day, to be on the safe side. Black says, yes, I understand. As Black tries to talk cheerfully to the bedridden White, he says, isn't that good news, boss? You're okay. Physically, at least. Now, can you tell me what happened to you yesterday? White tells him, let's go outside first. As they sit in the garden of the hospital, grassy area in front of the hospital, Black says, what? You mean N? White informs him. He said he's the king of Team Plasma. Black says, he kidnapped Gigi, didn't he? After all that talk about Pokemon liberation and everything. The White tells him, no, he didn't kidnap her or liberate her from me. Gigi chose to stay with N of her own free will. But Black angrily says, I don't care how it happened. It's still Team Plasma's fault. They attacked us on Route 3 and at the Dream Yard. They stole that skeleton from Nasarine's museum in Nasarine City. They hurt the mythical Pokemon of Liberty Garden while trying to catch it. And they kidnapped all those Pokemon in Castelia City. Doesn't matter how they sugarcoat it. They're still committing crimes. You're damn right. My God. Like, look, it's great that they have some good points, but that doesn't excuse what they're doing. Like, nah, not cool. Black shouts, I'm sick of their dirty tactics. But then Black realizes that the Servine is watching him. When Black addresses the Servine saying, what? The Servine turns its nose up at him. Perfect Pokemon for this. White says, that Pokemon, it was with N on the Ferris wheel. Why is it here? Did it follow me? Black angrily says, it's dangerous. It's a spy. It's keeping an eye on us so we don't get in Team Plasma's way. You know where N is, don't you? Take us to him. But once again, the Servine turns its nose up at Black. Black says, Knight, convince that Servine to show us where N is. Pig Knight rushes in angrily, but Servine easily trips it over its tail. Black says, look how stuck up that Pokemon is. There's got to be some way to find N. He calls for Musha, his Muna, but then he turns away and Muna ends up chomping on Pig Knight's face. But Pig Knight's getting the worst end of all this. As Black says, I've got it. Marshall helped the boss. Maybe he saw some clues to N's whereabouts. But then he starts smacking his head in the ground saying, darn it, I should have asked him for more details when I had the chance. Suddenly a clown baker woman? What? Well, she comes up saying, here you go. With all that shouting, you must have worked up an appetite. They're freshly baked. Would you like to try one? Black says, come to think of it, I haven't eaten anything since last night. And his tummy starts to grumble. He grabs one, saying, thanks, I'd love one. And he nibbles on it. He goes, yum. The baker lady says, it's my pleasure to serve an illustrious personage like yourself. White questions, like who? The baker says, you're the creative genius behind yesterday's Pokemon musical, aren't you? I was in the audience. Isn't this you in the program? Please, may I have your autograph? Huh, dang. Black says, hey, take it easy. She's not feeling. The baker then says, make it out to Baker Chris, please. I live in my traveling bakery. You can usually find my van at the village bridge, but I go wherever things are happening. Black says, enough, leave her alone. Chris then says, are you sure that would be for the best? Black questions this, and Chris says, I hear all sorts of interesting things talking to customers on my travels to various cities. For example, I heard that what Marshall is doing in town, who he met with, and where he went yesterday. Ooh, okay, Chris, go on with your bad self. Black says, you heard all that? Kristen tells White. Well, asks White, you're the one who came up with the idea for the musical at the town meeting, aren't you? White says, yes. Chris questions, that meeting was about promoting the town through Pokemon, wasn't it? White says, yes. Kristen says, there was another project under discussion at the time, a project to promote Pokemon Battle. Mombasa is an entertainment hub. The town council is always dreaming up ways to attract more tourists. Black says, are you saying that Marshall came here to discuss this project to promote Pokemon Battles with that person he was meeting with? Chris says, bingo, since you figured it out, I'll show you the way. Hop on. And she shoves them into her trailer, tells them the arena is going to celebrate its opening day soon. Let's go. And she drives off with the two of them. Isn't it like the Battle Club or something like that? I know in the anime, I was looking through the anime and there was some kind of Battle Club thing in Mombasa town. Oh, it's the Battle Subway. Oh, we're about to be what was their names? Indigo and Emmett. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was always curious about this. This seemed like a cool concept. Black says, wait, isn't this a subway station, Chris? As they make their way down. Chris says, that's right. But Black then takes notice and says, there he is. It's Marshall and then he's shocked as he sees Marshall and his Menshao fighting against Alder's Aselgor. Black says, hey, that's... Yep. Hey, you were just meeting all the big names lately, huh? Jeez. Usually it takes a lot of the other characters a while before they come. No. It didn't take that long. Honestly, we end up meeting a lot of the champions early on, sometimes before most of the Elite Four, like even here, because I think the only Elite Four member, well, they haven't met Caitlyn yet, but they haven't met Caitlyn and Chantal. And I remember those names because it's really easy to memorize. See, despite the fact that I don't know a lot about the Elite Four of Unova, I know all of their names just immediately by heart. Grimsley, Chantal, Marshall, and Caitlyn. Bada bang. And Galvantula is already level 50. Like, man, dang. I mean, Pig Knight's getting up there, and so is Muna. But it's just, Galvantula just caught up with Braviary like it was nothing. Like, man. And it's still kind of shocking to me that White has Servine registered to her. How does that work? Because is that a spoiler that they accidentally put there? Or is that something that's like officially a thing? Like, did somehow, through whatever abilities N has, he made it so that he traded Gigi for Servine? How does that work out? I don't know. All right, the Who's That Pokemon for this chapter is Deerling. Adventure number 27, A New Perspective. Okay, so they're battling on the subway system. I mean, it is the battle subway. As Black, White, and Chris the baker, right? Watch from the window. Black says, that's the Pokemon League champion of the Unova region. Name is Alder. But why is Marshall, one of the Elite Four, battling him? And on a subway, too, as they watch... Oh, God, I already forgot these Pokemon's names. Menshao try to kick Acelgor, but Acelgor manages to dodge. Black says Marshall is using Menshao, the martial arts Pokemon, and Alder is using Acelgor, the shell-out Pokemon. Marshall commands Menshao to use Pound, while Alder tells Acelgor to use Double Team. Menshao can't get a hit on any of the clones of Acelgor. Black says, look at Acelgor move. It's like a ninja. Chris says, that's right. This is a battle between the ninja arts and the martial art. Black says, the martial arts. Menshao's primary weapon seems to be that long arm. Chris tells him, take a closer look. That arm is actually its fur. Menshao wields its fur as a weapon. Ooh. Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh yeah, Menshao uses its, sleeve-like fur in order to wrap up Acelgor. Black says, I see. And it just captured Acelgor. And Menshao strings up Acelgor with its fur. Black says, it did it. Chris says, yep, Acelgor won. Black says, huh? Marshall gives a bow. As Menshao releases Acelgor, he says, thank you so much, Master. Alder says, Marshall says, that makes 2 wins, 1,076 losses. Alder then says, wasn't it 1,077 losses? Marshall opens up his jacket, revealing, jeez, so many just tally marks to all of them, saying, no, I'm positive. I wrote it down right here. Alder laughs it off, saying, just kidding. Chris says, do you get it now? Marshall is Alder's student. They spent their time traveling all over the place to train, and whenever their paths cross, they begin a Pokemon battle. No matter where or when. As Alder exits the subway, he says, what's taking the mayor of Nimbasa so long? We're supposed to meet to discuss this battle subway arena. Not very considerate of him. I'm bored. I'm going for a walk outside. Marshall bows, saying, all right. Black calls out, hey, wait, just now, why did you say the champion won that battle? What, didn't you see? Oh, wait, Acelgor won? Oh, I didn't even realize what she had said previously. Marshall tells Black, acid spray. Black questions Marshall, and Marshall approaches, saying, it's an attack in which a Pokemon spits out fluid to melt its opponent. Normally you spray it all over your opponent to do the most damage, but my master had his Acelgor spit only a tiny drop on my Menshao. If he had ordered Acelgor to spit acid spray all over Menshao would have fainted. In other words, the battle was over the moment that single drop found its target. That's how wide the gap is between my master and me. Hey, you're that boy from yesterday. What are you doing here? He then spots White, saying, oh, I see. The girl standing beside you. She's regained consciousness. Black says, yes, she has. Boss, this is the guy. The one who was going to take you to the hospital. White says, oh, thank you. Black then questions, I have a question for you, Marshall. When you found my boss under the Ferris wheel, did you notice anything else? Like a suspicious person or Pokemon? If anything comes to mind. Oh, and to the mayor, who says, my apology. Sorry I'm late. And you came all this way here to give me your expert advice, so inconsiderate of me, he says, bowing. The girl who produced our Pokemon musical went missing last night and, And he spots White. He says, there you are. What are you doing here? You didn't show up at the cast party. Theatergoers began participating in the musical today, but you didn't even bother to make an appearance at the theater. Mayor, please, you've got to hear us out, Black says. Last night, one explanation later, Marshall takes it all in while the mayor says, never mind. That's all water under a bridge now. At the moment, I have more important concerns, sir. Where's Alder? Marshall tells him, he went for a walk. He got tired of waiting. Oh, only for Alder to be outside wrestling his Buffalon. Oh man. Oh yeah, dang. Rough and tumble kind of guy. Jeez. He would be an interesting person to have interact with Norman from Ruby and Sapphire. This is ready, steady, go! Ready, steady, go! You can't say that without me thinking of that song. Points if you know what it's from. But he grabs the Buffalot by the horns. He says, "Ha ha, not yet. Come on, push!" As Buffalot manages to knock him back, as Marshall, the mayor, and Black and White watch. Yeah, okay. I was wondering, like, are these all his Pokemon? But it says later that they're wild. Alder says, "Ha ha ha, you win! I'm getting too old for this." A Garbodor, which, yeah, that one always gets me, puts a hand on Alder's shoulder, and Alder says, "Oh, you want to play with me too? Okay. Oh, and you're a cute one for sure." He says to Sigilif, yeah, that's a weird looking one. Black says all kinds of wild Pokemon are flocking to him. Marshall asks, happens all the time. Wild Pokemon seem to sense how kind my master is. They gather around him as soon as he turns up. My master treats all Pokemon equally, whether they're wild or a member of his team. He loves to play with them. Just play. Nothing more, nothing less. As they watch Alder wrestle with the Garbodor, something seems to resonate with White. Marshall then says, now that he started playing, I wouldn't expect to get his attention anytime soon. The mayor says, what? Marshall heads back to the subway saying, never mind, I'll stand in for him. I tested your whole battle arena while we were waiting. The mayor says, I see, wonderful. Marshall then turns to Black saying, oh, and to answer your question, all I saw was the girl in that Servine. By the way, if you're interested in battling Pokemon, why don't you take a look around this arena? It's called the Battle Subway. Oh, the mayor explains. It's called the Battle Subway. This is the newest addition to Nimbasa City's entertainment attractions, hot on the heels of the Pokemon musical. As you might guess from the name, this battle system utilizes the subway network connecting the Unova region. Oh, it goes all over the Unova region. Ooh, cool. You battle inside a special train as it goes through the tunnel. The train has 7 cars, and each car has a different battle arena. The challenger must defeat 7 trainers in a row. That counts as 1 battle. Marshall says, I see. Defeating 7 in a row. That rule applies to other region battles facility as well. Oh, so this is essentially their version of kind of like the Battle Frontier. Interesting. Yeah, because every region has some kind of Battle Frontier-like setup. They just don't call it that. It's mostly Battle Towers that caught on the most. The mayor says, yes, we did our research and decided to follow the same format. The door is open, and Marshall examines the subway as the mayor says, oh, Marshall says, I just fought a Pokemon battle with my master in here. To be honest, it's very narrow, and the ceiling is quite low, but the length of the venue makes up for that. And there are good obstacles, hand straps, seats, poles. Best of all, you're fighting in a moving subway. It's very unstable. The battle subway is far from the ideal fighting arena, but that's what makes it such a perfect test of skill. It's challenging and fun because you have to make use of your surroundings, forcing you to invent new tactics. The mayor says there will be 8 subway trains in total, including the ones still under construction. 6 are already operational. There's the single train, the double train, the multi-train. We've created 2 lines for each of them. Marshall says, I see. A beginner and experts level, huh? The mayor then says, after several sets of these battles, you earn the right to face the subway bosses. As Indigo and Emmett give a salute, introducing themselves, I'm Ingo. And I am Emmett. The mayor says, the subway bosses are highly skilled traders. I summoned them here just for this. Marshall says, the only remaining test before we open to the public is to run a normal trainer through. It seems fate has brought us together. How would you like to test the battle subway before it officially opens, young man? Black is shocked, saying, would I? But then his mind is overloaded because of what happened to Gigi. Saying, do I? No. Thanks, but I'll pass. And he goes running off. Black says, so dizzy. Because you're actually concerned about White. So things have started to kind of take over in your mind. You're usually so focused on Pokemon battles, but now you care so much about her. White comes up to him saying, thank you for being so considerate. Black says, boss, well, we've got a lot of unsolved mysteries to deal with still, like, and then he looks to the Servine saying, what is this Servine up to? Why does it keep following you around? White takes a moment and then looks out to Alder saying, that man seems to be having fun. He's champion Alder, right? Oh, wow, Alder without his cloak. Ugh, holy crap. It's as if he doesn't expect his Pokemon to be anything, like strong or beautiful. That must be what it means to truly connect with a Pokemon. Black says, what's the matter? White says, I haven't given up on my dream. My dream to excel in show business. That will never change. I want the spotlight to shine upon Pokemon on the stage and screen. At the same time, I'm seriously considering what N said to me. I didn't let Gigi fight Pokemon battles. I didn't really think about how Gigi felt to listen to Gigi's voice. He was right about that. Even if Gigi didn't seem to mind. I was unable to accept the truth, so I ran away from it. I can't stop worrying about Gigi now. Where is Gigi? What's Gigi doing? Maybe Gigi has finally experienced the joy of battle and victory and never wants to act again. He pauses for a moment and then says, this might be a good thing after all. Black questions, huh? White tells him, Gigi has been in showbiz for a long time. Now Gigi has experienced Pokemon battles, so Gigi can choose between the two. That's probably for the best, although I'm positive Gigi will pick showbiz and come back to me. Black questions White, but White tells Black, and now I'm going to take a ride on that battle subway. Oh, begins. She's ready. I'll fight! But does she have any Pokemon? That's been my question. Because was Gigi hers, or was it just something she had on loan for someone else? I'm not really sure how it all works out. And she still technically has the Servine. Okay, and who's the Pokemon for this chapter is Deerling. And I had to pause for a moment because I'm like, wait, Deerling? I had to remember Deerling has alternate forms based on the 4 seasons. And even if you look at the spelling for it in Japanese, it's spelled different. That took me off guard because I'm like, wait, Deerling? Because I took a pause between chapters just to kind of, get my bases down again. And then I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute. Something's not right here. Okay. Adventure number 28 and the last chapter of this volume, Growing Pain. Time to train up White. Oh, and speaking of Deerling, White spots a Deerling. Well, she's at the ready. Spots a Deerling coming out of the tall grass. What? Is it already in a form or is it just standard? I can't really tell because you can't tell the colors from a black and white manga. But White throws a Pokeball and it goes clear over Deerling's head. Oh boy. Oh, what does this remind me of? Who does this remind me of? Yellow. Teaching Yellow how to catch Pokemon. The Pokeball goes clear into a lake. White says, this is so hard. While Chris is off to the side laughing. Oh, Chris has a Shelmet. Interesting. That's the form before Excelgor. Yeah, I guess she must be an Alder fan. White says as she slumps down near the lakeside. I'm so sorry, Chris. It was so nice of you to give me your Pokeball to capture a Pokemon with, and Chris says, no worries, I've got tons more. You can use as many as you need. And she sets up a table. She comes over with some fresh bread saying, and when my bread's finished baking, take a break and have a piping hot slice. White says, thank you. That sounds yummy. Oh, I get what Chris is up to. She's trying to get in good with the lady behind the Pokemon musical because, I mean, hey, if Chris can get in those catering gigs, but she's also just being nice. Why not do both? Suddenly, there's a call on White's cross transceiver. Gotta remember the name. White says, a call? And as she answers, she says, hello. Oh, thanks for calling. Yes, you got my message. That's right. Oh, I'm closing my business down temporarily. I'm returning all the Pokemon I've been entrusted with to their trainers. Yes, I'll be sure to give you a call when I reopen. Oh, so this is kind of like, I don't know. Was it in the Pokemon games where you could send your Pokemon off to do jobs or be rented out by other people or something? Or am I thinking of something else? I actually can't remember now. She says, yes, thank you for your support. Black sits at the table with her laptop. She says, oh, another call. Hello? Oh, you're Pito's thank you for calling. Yes, that would be great. Pito was very popular. Yes, I look forward to working with you again. As she hangs up the call. Chris says, "You're sure getting a lot of calls." White says, "They're from the trainers of the Pokemon registered with my talent agency." Chris says, "Oh, I've seen your ad. The one that goes, make your Pokemon a star." Chris. That's where my mind went. He made me think of Chris for 1 second, just because of the organizational skills. That's what kind of connects the two for me. The organization skills between those two girls could move mountains. My God. White says, "You've heard of us." Chris says, well, also because of Chris the Baker, but when I said Chris, it was like Crystal. Chris says, "Of course, I didn't audition my Pokemon, but I expect lots of people did." White says, "Yes, I picked the most expressive, creative Pokemon and cared for them at my agency as if they were my own, except for Gigi, my star." Okay, so who is Gigi's owner? Whose Pokemon is Gigi, then? Was Gigi's hers? I'm so curious about their relationship. Did she find it out in the wild? Because usually the starters it's very rare to find a starter out in the wild. I says, "I'm returning all the Pokemon to their trainers and putting my business on hiatus. You know why? Because I've made up my mind to take a ride on the battle subway. I won't have time to nurture the Pokemon's talents properly. They've all been returned to their trainers by now, and I don't have any performing work lined up. I feel kind of empty." Yeah, someone's so busy all the time. Dude, my wife's the same way, because she would not know what to do with herself without anything or anyone to take care of. The moment she has downtime, it's like she's at a loss. It's so surreal. I always feel so worried when it happens. And I'm like, "Oh, you need some downtime. You need to stop working so much. You need to do this and that." The moment she does it, it's just like, it's almost like she just has nothing in the world. Like she's lost everything. And I'm like, okay, should I be worried? Chris says, "Cheer up. That's why you're looking to capture a new Pokemon now, right? One who will fight by your side on the battle subway. Lucky for you, this area is swarming with wild Pokemon, drawn here by Alder's charisma. This is your chance." I says, "Yes, I'll give it my best." As White goes off to make another attempt at probably the Deerling, Black is observing, kind of melancholic, from up on the street. Marshall approaches, saying, "What's the matter, kid?" Black says, "Marshall, nothing," and he turns away. Marshall then looks out to White, saying, "You're sulky because she's going to ride the battle subway instead of you, aren't you? Those are the breaks. You turned down the offer she accepted." Black shouts, "I only turned it down because I thought it was the right thing to do. How come only one person gets to ride it anyway? Two trainers can ride it together, can't they?" Marshall tells him, "This battle subway run is going to be her first battle experience, I can tell. She's a beginner. Look at her trying to capture her very first Pokemon. You, on the other hand..." Marshall just grabs his shirt, showing off the badges. Marshall says, "4 gym badges, aiming to enter the Pokemon League, I presume. It doesn't make sense for you two to fight in the same battle." Black sulks again, saying, "I know, but..." Marshall then picks up Black. Then again, like, in comparison, Marshall is like twice the dude's size, both in height and in width, maybe 3 times his size in width. That puffer jacket makes him look like bigger, a little bit bigger in a lot of ways. Marshall says, "You ought to support other people's dreams when you're on your own or on hold. Be generous of spirit." And then he tosses Black towards the bushes next to White. I love this relationship. Oh, dude, thank you. Thank you. You are giving me so much of the Unova Elite Four. Just really makes up for, because I feel like I only got to know so much of the Hoenn Elite Four and the Sinnoh Elite Four. Just I was scraping at content for them, but doing some good stuff with the Unova Elite Four. Like, yo, I'm loving these guys. Like, you can see how well the mangaka have learned to craft these characters and really show off their best points. White is shocked to see Black crawling out of the bushes. She says, "What's going on, Black?" Black says, I just hate sitting on the sidelines watching you, boss." White says, "That's how it has to be, though, doesn't it? This is my first time, after all." Black says, "A deerling, huh? That's the Pokemon you want to catch? Well, Deerling seems pissed off. I don't know if it's the dismissive attitude of Black or the fact that White just keeps chucking balls at it. Oh, it's the balls. Yep, it's definitely the balls. White says, it's cute, but I kept hitting it with the Pokeballs. I think it's mad at me, she says, running off as the Deerling charges at her. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Black says, that Deerling doesn't respect her. But White trips over a rock and hits the ground as Deerling comes in looking to stomp on White's face. Black goes to charge him, saying, uh-oh, but Servine has already moved in, knocking away the Deerling. Oh, with Vine Whip. Oh, that's how it worked. Oh. See, I've always been weirded out by the fact that because of the nature of Snivy's line, it slowly loses its arms. So I'm like, how does it do things? Like the things that it used to keep itself upright slowly falls away, and then it just, and Snivy already had these petty little arms, and then the arms slowly just become less and less useful until it's mostly just a serpent. And it kind of has its arms and legs, but they're not really arms and legs anymore. And man, the vines coming out of its kind of color-like foliage. Black says, Servine protected the boss. I don't get it. I thought Servine was only following the boss around to spy on her, but it just came to her rescue. Good timing, that's for sure. For the boss to capture that Deerling, he has to weaken it first. Black then says, boss, why don't you try giving Servine orders? White says, give orders to that Servine? Black says, yeah, let's see, try Leaf Tornado. White tells Servine to use Leaf Tornado, and Servine does just that, effing up the Deerling. Black says, you did it, yay! White says, it's too early to celebrate, I have no idea what to do next. Black looks around saying, no problem, I'll demonstrate by capturing a Pokemon next to you. Watch me and learn. Let's see, perfect, I'll go for that one. Oh, didn't Ash have one of those? What was it? Tortuga. Yeah. No, I guess not. I could have sworn Ash had a Tortuga. Well, Black shoots the Tortuga and says, perfect, I'll go for that one. Oh, so Black brings out his Galvantula. And I love that the Servine uses the vines for arms so it can cross its arms. It's literally doing it just so it can look petty. Oh, man, I love it. That is the goofiest thing, and I love it. So Black brings out his Galvantula to catch Tortuga, while White commands Servine to catch Deerling. Black says, first, prepare. Observe your opponent's moves closely. Then, attack. Black commands Galvantula to use Electro Ball, while White commands Servine to use Leaf Tornado. Black says, that's good. Quick, attack it again before it escapes. White says, attack it again before it escapes. Black pulls out a Pokeball saying, all right, that ought to do it. Now hold your Pokeball tight and keep your eye on your target. White says, yes, I am. I'm holding my Pokeball tight and keeping my eye on the target. And they both say, and throw. And sure enough, they caught 2 new Pokemon. Black pats White on the back saying, you did it! And then they head back up to the battle subway, holding their brand new Pokemon. Black tells White next to Marshall, this is it, boss. But suddenly the Pokeball flickers out of his hand and rolls towards Marshall. Marshall saying, you captured this Pokemon. Black says, yeah, just a little while ago. By the river, why do you ask? Oh, Marshall says, but this is the Pokemon I set free yesterday. Black says, what? Marshall says, I kept it a while in hopes of raising it, but it was too hard-headed. It just wouldn't warm up to me. Now it's ended up in your Pokeball. Sweet serendipity. The irony of that. Black keeps getting released Pokemon who have been released for one reason or another, only for Alder to call out, hey there, I'm back, Marshall. Huh? What happened to the mayor of Nimbasa City? He says, looking around. Marshall says, he went home a long time ago. The day's almost over. Alder scratches his head, saying, no stick to it in this. Marshall says, I explained everything to the mayor. We'll use a regular trainer for our next test run. Miss White here has come forward to be that trainer. Alder says, what? That's our next step? Why wasn't I informed? Marshall says, I told you all about it. White whispers to Black, saying, he's so busy playing he doesn't keep track of his work, does he? Oh, Black whispers, looks like it. Alder says, hey, I heard that. You two are awfully judgmental. He just ruffles their heads. He is everyone's fun uncle. Like a combination of a little annoying, but extremely flaky and lots of fun. He's fun to be around, but he can't commit to nothing for no one. I can't imagine this guy having kids. I can't imagine this guy having kids. If he has kids, they're either just like them or they hate him. They hate him. Alder says, but you're right, so I can't argue with you. Permit me to make one correction, though. I'm not just playing, I'm on a journey. Black says, a journey? Wrestling and play fighting? Alder says, exactly. A journey of the spirit. He's like a less pervy version of Jiraiya from Naruto. He then addresses White, saying, young lady, mind telling me why you decided to take part in this test run? Is it because you wish to grow stronger? White shakes her head, no. There's a Pokemon who's very dear to me, who I've been separated from. I realize the time will come when that Pokemon would like to choose what it wants to do. When that time comes, I want to have more than one path to choose from. I want it to have more than one path to choose from. I want my Pokemon to choose its own path. Okay, so Gigi is her Pokemon. That's how my thinking has changed anyway. After seeing everything that's been going on in this town, and since I want my Pokemon to choose its own path, it would be wrong for me as its trainer to only be knowledgeable about one of those paths. That's why I've decided to ride the battle subway. Dang. Dang. There's a pause between Alder and Black, and then Alder questions, I was gonna say something profound, but she beat me to the punch. Now what? Black's taken off guard by that. Hey, honestly, what do you say in response to that? Like, oh, I wasn't expecting something so heavy, kid. You going through something. Well, okay then. Ingo says, oh, wait, no. Who's Ingo and who's Emmett? I keep getting confused. Ingo is the one in the black. Okay, I thought so. I think I kept calling him Indigo for a while there. Ingo and Emmett. Ingo says, it's time, while Emmett says, to depart. We'll take care of everything. While Ingo says, once you board the train. White says, thank you so much. And she boards the battle subway train, and it takes off. Well, it begins to take off. White says, see you, Black. Black says, yeah, bye. Thanks for everything. White says, the pleasure was mine. Oh, yeah. I didn't really think about it before, but they don't really have a reason to be together for some time now, because, well, she shut down the agency. Black says, we met in Accumula Town and traveled together to Striaton, Nasserine, Castelia, and Nambasa. 5 cities, 4 roads, and 1 bridge. All went by so fast. Oh, about that. Oh, I think it's White saying that. Black says, oh, about that. White says, about what? As the train picks up more speed, Black just keeps running alongside it. It's cute. Black says, the money I owe you for the film equipment I wrecked when we first met up, have you paid it all back already? White says, I still owe a little bit. Black says, right, that means I still work for the BW agency. So no matter how far we're apart, I'll always be your employee. Hey boss, I'm gonna make my dream come true. I'm gonna enter the Pokemon League and I'll be wearing your company logo on my uniform, just like I promised. He's looking for any reason not to break that connection they have. Oh, that, oof, dang. Like taking all the parts of the whole Ruby and Sapphire relationship and just flip it completely in the opposite direction. And it's absolutely adorable. Like, yo, man, I would love to see this scene animated, because this, oof, White says, great. Black calls out, so don't ever give up. Your dream to become Unova's greatest, but she can no longer hear him as he's gone. Until a Pokeball comes flying at her. Oh, it's Braviary. Oh, to make sure there's a reason for them to see each other again. I hope Braviary is okay with this. White says, this is Black's. Black says, I could tell Brave wanted to go with her. Aw, Brave also wanted to join. Aw. It is true. Braviary, out of all of Black's Pokemon, I feel that Braviary, maybe outside of, I was going to say Tep, but now it's Knight. Besides Tepig, or Pig Knight. Outside of Pig Knight, Braviary really has a bond with White too. Galvantula, not so much, though. Like, I feel like they don't really, White and Galvantula haven't really gotten along that well. Not that they're on bad terms, but still. But Black says, and no wonder. We're still not sure if that Servine that's trailing her is friend or foe. Whatever you need to convince yourself, buddy. And she just barely managed to catch that deerling. Plus she'll need 3 Pokemon to fight on the battle subway. Brave couldn't stand to leave her. You need to do your research like I do. Know about things like battle requirements. See you soon, boss. Whatever you need to tell yourself, buddy. You just want to see your friend again. Friend. Oh, that was so cute. That was friggin' adorable, man. That was friggin' adorable. Man, though. I really do question N's intention by commanding Servine to go with White. And why did Servine go along with it? Was it just that Servine wanted to be with a trainer? Why did N choose White? Was there something more to it than that? Well, no, there's so many questions here. There's so many things all of this could mean, and I won't know my answers till they meet again. Who knows how much stronger White will get up till that point, and she's only just now starting to grow. But she has a very powerful ally, all things considered, having Braviary. And, man, Black saying, Braviary really wanted to go with her, and, I mean, they've got the Servine that we're still not sure about. I mean, he makes some good points, but at the same time, just like, I feel like you're projecting something, buddy. Just, man, Gigi choosing to go with N. I didn't really see that coming. I mean, Gigi didn't even struggle with it. I really do kind of question that. And Gigi got a taste for the power, and she was just like, ooh, I like this. Let's go. Now I want to get some fights in. And man, Black and White meeting Alder, the champion. I love it when our heroes meet the champion. That always is a fun time and an interesting way things go. And then testing out the battle subway. Shoot, Black isn't even registering the idea of going off and going to his next gym battle. It's just like, yeah, I get it. You want to test out the battle subway, but buddy, you're on a journey. Go off and get your next gym badge, man. But man, Black got a new Pokemon. And it's temperamental. See how that one goes. And Black has had such a strong bond with so many of his Pokemon. Having one that's not as chill with him, that'll be interesting to see. And we immediately even things out by making sure White had a 3rd Pokemon. So who knows how many Pokemon she'll end up gaining. Not to mention, where's the subway train headed anyway? I mean, it goes throughout all of Unova, so where is she gonna end up? I mean, I'm not really sure how this whole train system even really works. It goes throughout Unova, but you just end up in a specific location and it doesn't come back? Or is it that it goes to one location and then comes back? Like, how does that all work, I wonder? I guess we'll see. But everything's also interesting here. And she'll probably grow on the train. You know, going up against other trainers, developing what skills that she can, and she's gonna have to be on top of it. See how she does. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.